Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another black powder update, and today is going to be part one of the overview of my completed Brunswick Division. And before you can see it all set out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically run through every unit individually by placing them on the green mat here, and then as I finish them I'll move them to the side so that the group will get smaller as the sort of videos go on, and then at some point roughly sort of halfway through I will stop, and then it will continue in the second part. Now I decided to do this method to basically try and make the videos shorter, and also to try and put more detail into each part as well. So instead of just looking at the unit from a foot away, I'll actually sort of go in close, a sort of halfway between watching an individual video of a particular unit, so that you basically have the choice. If you want to have a closer look at a unit from the watching the overview, you can actually go back to my channel and find the individual video if you want a real much longer closer in look at them. And then that way you can kind of decide. So part one will probably be, now I think what I'll do is I think I'll leave the actual top command figures, i.e. Alphaman and the Duke, until the second part, just going slightly out of order, and we'll start with the first unit that's in the actual order of battle, which will be the Avant-garde. Then it'll be the Light Division, and then I might stop it there possibly, and then the final part will be the 3 line infantry units, the 2 cavalry units, and the artillery. And then obviously finally the Duke and Alphaman will creep in at the end of the second part. So the second part might theoretically be a little bit longer, but that way it keeps, I don't want to sort of like start on the line infantry and then stop and then continue it on in the second part. So it's roughly half the army in the first part. So it'll be the Avant-garde and the 4 divisions of light. Then it'll be the 3 line infantry, the 2 cavalry, and the 2 cannon batteries. Okay, so that's the plan. And I'm going to end it here, and we'll be back in a second with the camera on the bipod and the first unit up to have a look at. So I'll catch you in a second. Okay, welcome down closer to the desk, and up on the green unit here, or the green mat, we have the first unit in the order of battle, and this is the Avant-garde. Now these guys are, they seem to be in a group of all their own. They're not big enough to be a brigade, and they don't even have a commanding officer as such. So I guess they're sort of like a free floating element. I'm not sure if the rules give them marauder, which will allow them to sort of go off on their own. I'll just have a quick check actually in the Albion Triumphant book. That's where you find the rules for these chaps. So I'm just having a quick look now. Let's have a look. Avant-garde. So it appears these guys don't have marauder, and they certainly don't have a brigade commander. So I guess you just have to kind of attach them. But I suppose that's no problem. So yeah. So first up we have the Avant-garde. These chaps are elite miniatures, and I did add a Perry's command, simply because the commanding officers that came with the elite were a little bit odd, and strangely enough the one officer I did use actually had a miscast sword. So he looks as if he's got a sabre brocade rather than an actual sabre, but I'll give you a closer look at him in a second. So we're just going to basically have a quick run through. So the Avant-garde is made up of 2 elements. It's made up of an element of light infantry, which are dressed in black like the normal light infantry, but obviously they have the Avant-garde hat and the coloured cuffs. And let me just show you that command stand. Here's the officer. So this is a little sub-command stand I made up using the secondary bugler that you get in the command pack, and also using one of the actual elite officers that came. Now this one is actually the better of the two. He has got a slightly longer sword than the second figure, but they're definitely both miscast, because when I brought my light infantry pack, the officers are basically in the same position, and they do actually have a little bit longer sabre, so it looks as if these two, the two that I got in my Avant-garde box, both had slightly miscast scabbards. But yeah, so this is basically like a little sub-command, and then you've basically got the light infantry element there. Now, rules-wise, when these fight combined, they count as a mixed unit, or I suppose you could have them as two separate smaller units. I guess it's kind of up to you. So that is, sorry, that's the light element, and I'll just go in and show you the actual rifleman element now. Now, of course, the second part is the riflemen. These guys are in grey, and they're quite reminiscent of Austrian Jaegers. They did actually use a lot of sort of Austrian ideas and Austrian equipment, especially when they were first formed, the Brunswickers. But yeah, these guys are mostly armed with rifles that they off the civilian market, and they obviously never used. Well, I don't know if they some bakers crept in, because obviously they were equipped by the British during the 100 Days. But I suppose unless something broke or became unserviceable, perhaps there was the odd baker crept in. But as far as I know, they're all their own. A vast mixture of various types of rifles, and not of one particular type. So that is the first unit, the Aventgarde, and I've got to say, they are pretty cool. It was a nice change, from obviously the light guys in black, but it was a change to paint the guys in grey. And now these guys are based on like woodland terrain. Woodland landscape flock. I believe it's see if I can quickly find the actual part. I think I've moved it. I can't get my mitts on it easily, but I think I got it from Warlord Scenics, I think it is. So that is the first unit of the army, and that's the Aventgarde. So let's just move these guys off to the side. Actually bring this forward, and we'll actually put these guys a little bit further back. Okay, next up we're going to start on the next unit that's up, and that is the Light Infantry Battalion. Now these guys do have a colonel, and this is the chap, and let's just give you the blurb on him. So this guy is a Lieutenant Colonel von Butler, sorry. Lieutenant Colonel von Butler. And of course this was the chap that you may have watched the individual video on. He's kind of stopped crossing a stream to read an order. And he is actually a light infantry officer with his horn on his shako, and that is their commanding officer. So that is the head of the brigade. And first up, we'll go with the lead battalion, as they are the head of the brigade. Now again, these guys are pretty recent. So you may have watched the close-in video on them. but I'll still kind of go over them in a little bit more detail than just sort of skimming over them. So these are the Light Battalion. These guys are the best of probably all the foot infantry, because they are all veterans. The rest of the brigade and all of the line infantry are all made up of volunteers and conscripts. I'll just give you a quick skim over some of these guys. These guys are all Perrys. So we have a stand of the normal troops here. You can see they have blue collars, blue shoulder tabs and blue stripes, and they have the horsehair tufts on top of their shakos, and of course the skull and crossbones. And here we have the NCO stand. And finally, I'll show you the command stand. Now, of course, light infantry companies or battalions never carried flags or anything. In fact, actually, the only people that carried flags in this entire division is actually just the 3 battalions of line infantry. So that is the Light Battalion, and they're commanded by a Major von Prosler. I did actually forget to tell you he commanded the Aventgarde, didn't I? So the Aventgarde are commanded by a Major von Raschenplatt. Okay, so that's the Lieb. Next up we will go for the First Light. Now these chaps are practically all front rank. Let's just get them on the mat. So here we go. So like I said, these guys are the First Light, and they are commanded by a Major von Holstein. So let's show you a stand of infantry. So straight away you can tell front rank because they're a little bit meatier. But of course, Perry's, elite and front rank all go together really, really well. Just the front rank guys look a little bit better fed, as I always say. These guys, of course, have the yellow stripe collar and tabs, and of course the light infantry bugle on their shakos, and the yellow topped puff on the shako below the blue. So it's basically a reverse of the infantry. As you'll see when we get to the infantry, it's basically reversed colours. So that is a line of normal infantry. Here is a close-up of a NCO stand. So this is a typical Brunswick NCO. You can see that he has a side pouch rather than a rear cartridge box case. He has a sobriquet and he has a swagger stick of some kind. And of course 3 normal troopers completing his base. And then of course finally the officer's command base. So here we have, now I believe this chap here could be a Perry's, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe not actually, maybe, I don't know, I really can't remember. So he looks like a front rank, he's got the same sort of beefiness. Maybe he is front rank, that guy. So maybe all these guys are front rank. I think even the drummer could be. So yeah, so here's the, as you can see on these light command bases, I always have a sergeant and a bugler. and of course the light battalions also had a drummer, so they all come with a drummer as well. Now I think this guy could be a Perry's drummer, because I'm pretty sure I used a Perry's drummer on just about every unit that I had, because you always used to get 2 drummers in every command pack. So whenever I brought a command pack, I always had a spare Perry's drummers and Perry's drummer, and I always really liked the Perry's drummers over most of the other companies' drummers that I actually got hold of. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that is a Perry's drummer. But other than that, everything else is front rank. So that is the first light. So let's move those chaps back. Sorry about that, I'll just move the camera. Okay, so next up we'll go for the second light, and I think those are these chaps. They are indeed. Of course, this entire battalion is made up of metals. You can't actually get any plastic Brunswickers. So here we have the second light. These guys are commanded by a Major von Brandenstein, and these chaps have the actually the first line weren't yellow, they're buff. They've got buff facings. It's these chaps that have got the yellow facings. So let's go with a unit of normal. Now I think these chaps are actually made up of a mixture of elite Perry's and front rank. And straight away you can tell the difference between a front rank guy there and a elite guy there. So yeah, these guys have got the yellow facings. The first line actually have buff facings, but I guess in this sort of the rather poor light here, and a little bit in the shade here, it kind of looks yellow. So if I just bring in one of the first, you can actually tell the difference between. Even though that buff does look very yellow on camera, it is actually buff and not yellow. So this is yellow, this is buff. I guess the only difference is it kind of looks like a pale yellow on camera, which is why it foxed me, because I'm looking at the view screen of my camera rather than looking at the figure. Anyway, that little mistake aside, it's these chaps that have got the yellow facings, and you can see that it's quite a vivid yellow. Again, I tried to use, I think I used yellow ochre, and I mixed in a little bit of deep yellow just to make it a little bit brighter. But I was very happy with that. This sort of cut the tone of yellow in the end. So that is a line of normal troops. Then we have the, and I think these guys have got a made up NCO on their NCO stand, so I'll show you the drummer instead. So here we have another Perry's drummer here. I must admit, I really do like the Perry's drummers. They've all got really nice unique positions, which is why I tended to use them. We've got a corporal mixed in there, front rank guy, another front rank guy there, and an elite guy there. So you can see that they're all together on this one base, all the 3 companies. And finally the command. These guys are mostly made up of a Perry's command, with one elite sergeant there, the sergeant that came with the elite miniatures battalion. So we have a nice regal looking officer and a pretty good looking junior officer there. So that is the second light. And now we'll go for the final unit of this particular video, which will be the third light. So I think these guys, I did these guys maybe 3 or 4ish weeks ago. Figures wise, I believe they are practically all, again, they're kind of a mixture of elites and front ranks and peri. So let's give you a closer and look at one of these randomised stands. So let's go for the stand this time. So here's a stand of infantry. On this particular stand we have 3 elite and 1 front rank, and you can see that these guys have the orange facings. Really nice looking troops. These ones, the orange, which I thought when I first saw it, wouldn't have thought it would have went with them, but it does actually really suit them. And of course, I decided to use a slightly brighter orange to make it kind of stand out, because it just didn't look right as a sort of muted colour. And of course you could tell it was, when I gave it a null and wash during the painting process, it sort of toned it down, and it was still there, but it just didn't really pop, and it looks a lot better when the orange pops, which is why I basically went back over it with the bright orange again. So that is the stand of infantry. Then we'll go for an NCO stand. So here we have, looks like we've got another front rank, another elite miniatures sergeant there, along with I think this guy. I think these two here are elite, and he's a front rank, and of course the sergeant is an elite as well. Of course his swagger stick and the sobriquet there. Something I did do was basically go back and paint all, I think it was practically all, I think it was 7 battalions of troops. I basically went back and repainted these slings and their muskets, which I'd originally painted white, and they actually used black slings. So I went back and I painted all those slings white, black. Sorry. Now the other thing that I was thinking about doing, but I never got round to, which I suppose we'll get to that when I get to the line infantry. So finally, we'll just have a look at the command base of these guys. So did I give the commander? I think I did. No, von Norman. So Major von Norman. This is again made up of mostly made up of a Peri's command. I think this is actually a mixture of the 2 command books that I picked up, because I picked up both standing and advancing, and this is kind of a little bit of a mixture of the 2. I think the officer and the bugler are advancing, and the secondary officer, the junior officer, is actually standing. But I did like that sort of mixture of the 2 command packs. Those 2 particular officers seem to go quite well together. Although then again, the officer could be standing actually, and maybe it's just the bugler that's walking. So yeah, like I say, actually a corporal is mixed in on the NCO stand this time. I think that's because I got 2 figures mixed up. But yeah, that's the command for the third light, and that is where I will end this first part of the video. So what I shall do is I shall unhook the camera and I shall just zoom out again and give you another little look at the whole army, and I will stop it here and I will be back for the second part real soon. So until then, catch you all later. Bye bye.